Hello everyone and welcome. This is your captain speaking over here live at Orlando SpeedWorld for the Drift Games event taking place here. And unfortunately though, because of some unforeseen weather, we actually, Tommy made the announcement not so long ago that the festivities was actually canceled. The Drift Games itself was not going to take place due to safety issues, and so we're just going to have a regular open practice event here at the skid pad. So we're going to check out some of the cars that are out here. They're actually dealing with a lot of puddles, rain, just trying to deal with all these shenanigans because it's a wet one, I'll tell you that much. But we're gonna try to have some special guests over here. One, of course, is Mr. Tommy himself. He's gonna be here to clarify some things, to let people know what's happening. And we have a lineup of vehicles ready to get sideways over here. We got some RX-8s, from what I saw in RX-8. We have the usual medley of 350Zs and so much more. So definitely don't want to miss out on that. But let's go ahead and just check out what's up over here. We have a purple 350Z. This is a color that you don't often see nowadays. Typically you see the orange and the yellow. Yellow piloted by, of course, our Tim Murphy here. But this time around it's a purple. And whenever I see a purple, I get in the mood for grape soda. I don't know about you, but this is just for me. And right now, though, the grape is not working, but this is not the only vehicle that's been struggling over here. Up next, we have an E46. And struggling out here. Didn't have the opportunity to go around, get names, so we're just going to go by what we see out here. The E46 is just getting wet and wild, as they would say. But we got some tandems taking place. We got so much more. So look, drift games may not be happening, but at least there's some drifting action going on. Whoa, hard on the understeer over here. But up next we have Amber in the Anubis, I believe. Cosmo Tire Nissan 350Z. Like the vinyl graphics over here that we got. Very nice over here. Making our way through the course. Very well here. You guys doing those spins out there, but I'm going to take a look now at the FRS going up against the 350Z. The FRS with the F820 engine. Super, look at that work. Huh. It's like a lake out there. Definitely through some sections of the course. 350Z struggling as he wipes out. And the FRS just glides on through. Meantime, let me just actually get some things ready over here because I had to scrap this together to make this production happen. This rain was just really kind of putting a wrench into our original plans. We're going to have drones, we're going to have special guest stars, we're going to have like a medley of things planned, but you got to work with what you got. So we got over here just this, and I'm just trying to get this going on. So meantime, you can check out another 350Z. Oh, they're just all over the place. They're like just multiplying. It's the B side. Oh, okay. Well, there's that. People in the camera view. What do we got now? We have a oh, look at that! A Nissan Skyline, an R32 sedan variant. That's not often you see that. I don't know if it's smart to have the hood out like that. especially when you consider with all of the rain, it could get sucked up into the intake and then cause some catastrophic engine damage. Definitely don't want that, but I like what this is happening over here. You got some drop top action. You got a BMW Z3 going up against a Mazda Miata. Miata, though, struggling on the initiation, wiping out there on the outer zone number 1. But the BMW Z3 just gliding on through. Doing a good job there. Oh, lost footage there for some reason. Let me go ahead and try to fix that for you folks. What's happening here? Let me see what's going on. Let me fix that. Just a moment. Sorry about that, technical difficulties. Went ahead and quickly got that back sorted out. Just in time to see this 240 go up against a E36. But the problem is I can't tell which one's boosted. Oh, it's a Nissan. Okay. Ah, now this I like. Got a Lexus IS, otherwise known as a Toyota Altezza in other parts of the world. And now the question though is, I have to wonder, did he went ahead and turbocharge the factory engine, the factory 2JZ that comes with this vehicle, or did he make the swap? Sometimes they'll swap in a 2JZ GTE from a Toyota Supra or an Aristo or some other Toyota vehicle, but you could get away with the factory engine. But this is one of the other cars that I was mentioning earlier, Mazda Rxa. It's unfortunate you don't see these cars more often. But it's good to see it out here. But okay, so going back, so this is one of the standard colors that I was mentioning before with the Nissan 350Z. It was actually, if I recall correctly, when the concept came out, this was like the featured color. And right now, it looks like the driver's trying to get a handle of the course. So that's okay, though, because you have different degrees of expertise, of experience out here. You have the beginners, you got the media, amateurs, rookies, experience, and of course the tandem, super experienced professionals that oftentimes just come out here to get some seat time. Work some things out, shakedown tests, get some data that they would like to actually do. One of the cars that I got to talk to, one of the very few people that I got to talk to, is he's out here with the FRS. But let me go back to the action. We got Byron Parrish. I know he's in the front of the Interstate Performance Nissan 240SX going up against. Now, I don't know who the driver is in this Nissan Skyline, but I gotta say, I really like the color scheme on this car. Like the purple, shimmering through the course. It's very nice just to see that. But I gotta wonder, for some of these drivers that are so accustomed to tandeming, I wonder if the driving in the rain is very frustrating, because they would like to get side by side, and it just makes it difficult to be able to gauge where the speed of your competitor is if you're in the chase position. So you don't want to get too aggressive where you don't have the room, that buffer, to be able to slow down and give yourself the opportunity to course correct in the event that the lead driver makes a problem, makes an error. But who knows? Maybe the course decides to dry out. It seems very unlikely with the way how the clouds are forming. I mean, you have 2 other events taking place today, and all of those events are dealing with some sort of weather problem. So it looks like we're not the only ones that are having these issues. Here's the other thing that's been happening. I've been hearing some snap, crackle, and pops from some of these cars, and I don't even know if it's normal, if it's expected. It's weird. It's so weird, but maybe we'll get to see some of these cars that I was telling you about. Wow, that is very aggressive understeer. Look at this BMW. It's just struggling out there. He just turned the wheel and just went straight for understeer. I don't know what he was looking to accomplish, but well done, sir. Your playbook is to understeer. So we have an E46 white taking a conservative approach. I can see why. Just when you don't have the grip, you just gotta wipe out very easily with little to no throttle input. There is some ways to get around it. You just gotta make sure that at times you have to navigate through the puddles to just find that grip around the course that you're looking for. But something that comes with experience. But here we go. Here's another tandem. We got white 350Z from earlier going up against the FRS, switching positions. 350Z in the lead. As you saw, he did wipe out going into the midway through the course, and he wipes out again. FRS, though, kind of expecting that, and he's just kind of leaned back a bit just to avoid any particular problems happening there. Ooh, just locking up those front wheels on 350Z. Some of these drivers just like to take advantage of just sliding the exit of the course, but my opinion, it's a little sketchy. You don't really want to do that. What if you end up in the lake over there? Here we go, another Nissan, and wiping out into the first corner. That's okay. Like I said, folks, you're tuned in to the Drift Sessions live stream take place over here at the Orlando SpeedWorld track. This is the OSW Drift Games event. Fortunately, no drift games taking place. We're just having an open drift session. So, actually, if you want to just come out, if you're a driver and you're looking to get some seat time, you're in the area in Orlando, just come on over. Check this out. You see there's action going on. Yeah, there was some lightning earlier, but that went away. That didn't stop the action. People are just here having some fun. Even though it's a little moist. That's to say the least. But people are not just... they're not letting it get to them. That Skyline is very... it's like on the cover. Here we go, back with the BMW Z3. Oh, very aggressive entry over there. A lot of angle. Doing a great job just holding on to it. I'd like to see this guy put the top down. I'd like to see what could happen. Oh, look at that. All that water just being excavated through that section of the course. Goes through again. Oh, good job there. Here we got BMW, got an E36. Wow, I mean, I gotta tell you, that is... I gotta actually get this thing working over here. Yes. Okay, good. Got that going. All right. Oh, very close. Oh! 240 just wipes out there. Let's see if I can get some of that over here. Nope. Okay, that's not going there. Oh, I just love it when things don't work. That's just dandy. Yeah, so as I was mentioning earlier, you have the factory engine of these cars, and they put out some pretty good numbers. But if you have the manual version of it, the manual transmission isn't necessarily the strongest. Actually, the automatic transmission is actually stronger than the manual transmission. So something to keep in mind. So definitely look for an upgrade. Some people go with the R154 or CD009, or I'm just throwing out codes that may be confusing you, but that's okay. Look at this Rxa. Look at this. Oh, well, definitely don't want to look at that. In the meantime, let me see if I can get this thing sorted out over here. Check out the chat. Ah, forgot we had the chat. Oh, all right. Back again, Byron Parrish, Nissan Skyline. Byron looking to apply some pressure in the rain. Well, let's see what it can do. Wow, look at that Nissan just getting pummeled by that lake. You saw just the deceleration from that portion of the course. Pretty significant. Oh, look at that. Byron Parrish is diving in. Looking solid there. But Byron knows that he needs to shut it down. Doesn't want to have any problems. But, oh, what happened over here? We have a Nissan 240 just shutting it down to this first section of the course. May have just gone too aggressive and maybe he ran into some problems, but it does sound like a 8-cylinder of some kind. Very quiet, very timid, very tamed. Maybe he's trying to be careful with the amount of power that he puts down into the rear tires. Some of the fans are actually trying to encourage him to actually let that engine sing. But maybe next time, once he gets a couple of runs dialed in. It may get a little confusing at times with some of these cars going back and forth. You hear a V8, you hear a 4-cylinder, you ask him, whoa, look at that understeer. Wow. I don't know how he's going to recover from that. I mean, that was a bit of good distance. Hey, that's a drift game in itself, now that you mention it. Who can understeer the longest? I mean, fortunately, I can't help but, many people may feel like I'm shaming the person, but I mean, you gotta face the facts. You see the car over here? Wow. In any case, oh, the 350 held it. Wow. That was great to see. I thought he was definitely gonna wipe out. The FRS though, intentionally wiped out just to avoid any sort of collisions going into that first turn, but 350C though, just struggling right there towards the end of the course, but in any case, folks, just a reminder, be sure to check us out on some of our other social media channels, Drift Sessions on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, as you're watching, on YouTube. So make sure to click that like and subscribe. Would appreciate it. And also be sure to check out OSW Drift on Instagram as well for the current and any future events that are taking place here. I'd have to actually take a look to see what would be the next one, because I do recall that Tommy, the curator over here at this event, he actually went and mentioned that even though there's no drift games happening today, he's going to actually try to have some sort of games take place in one of the other events, future events. So just to give you from this list here, September 17th, there's going to be a Learner's Day / After Dark. October 9th is going to be After Dark. October 29th is going to be Frankenslide. Hey, Frankenslide. Those are one of the events I enjoy. People sometimes come out to dress up in some sort of getup or costume, and sometimes they even go to the extent of dressing up their vehicles. Hey, whether if it's fangs on the front or maybe some bunny ears in the roof, who knows? People go wild over here. But that's Frankenslide happening October 29th. Then you have Black Friday Drift from November 18th through the 20th. That's a multi-day event. We're actually going to make an appearance there too, so be sure to tune into that. And last but not least, the last event of the year happening over here is the Driver's Appreciation Day on December 3rd. So all that information and more can be found on the OSW Drift Instagram page. So if you haven't done so already, check that out. Alright, so back to the action. We got the Rxa 80s back to spin those Doritos through the course. Doing a good job here. I spoke to soon. Huh. Well. Ooh. Oh, careful, careful. Yeah, I can see that coming in. See, part of the problem is that you got to know when you're understeering. And oftentimes, when people are starting out, they don't realize when they're actually understeering. But actually, let me put pause on that. Let's go back on Byron Parrish with a very fast and aggressive entry. The Skyline, unfortunately, just having to make up for some lost ground as Byron Parrish makes it through. Very slowly, but making sure that he hits the markers where he wants to be. Now this is where the Skyline just tries to close that gap just through the course. Does a good job there of closing in on that proximity, but it's not enough as Byron Parrish makes his way through the course. Now what do I see over there? It looks like a another BMW, but of a 5 Series variant. Sounds V8 too. Oh yeah, oh that's definitely V8. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but good job, man. Oh, almost looks like it makes contact with the wall there. Very nice. As I was saying, like sometimes people don't even realize that they're even understeering, and then they just keep going at it, going at it. It's like no, just you gotta know when you're understeering and just immediately stop. The last thing you want is to just have your front tires wear out first before your rear tires. It's not the name of the game over here in drifting. You gotta wear out your rear tires. But here we go. FRS 350Z back at it. Making way through the course. 350Z though struggling over there for that first section of the course. Just falling back a bit. FRS doing a good job of navigating through that portion. 350Z, remember, he's struggling through the outer edges of some of this course. His hands out in the air. I don't know if he's celebrating or just trying to draw attention to him because it's always sketchy whenever you see something like that. Got a Mazda Miata or MX-5. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's up to you. But in any case, let me get this thing figured out because there's an issue over here that at the same time I'm trying to just work out. Maybe I could get it sorted, but who knows? Let's see. Ah, here's a different car. We got another Nissan over here. Hey! All right, look at this gentleman coming in style with class. Mr. Tommy is joining in. He popped in with his truck. Well, taking a look at this car. Now, this is you may think like, hey, is this Nick Ward? No, it's not. Although Nick Ward does have a very similar car. Nick Ward from Taxi Garage. I'm curious to see what he thinks. Maybe this gentleman over here, who we see on the screen, may have been inspired by it, or it may have just been a luck where it's just an instance where he's just getting the car prepped for paint, and he just has it like that to try to just get it ready. Let me go ahead and get this man sorted out over here. The man of the hour, Mr. Tommy. Let me get this thing set over here. Yeah, that's for you, sir. Okay, let's get you going. All right. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's that. Okay, let me cue you in on the mic so that way everybody can hear your wonderful deep voice. You're in. Speak, sir. Speak. Let the world know.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, indeed. Perfect. Okay, good. Can you hear me, by the way? Oh, perfect. All right. So I was mentioning earlier, actually, first off, who are you and introduce yourself, sir?
So my name is Tommy. I am listening to VQs go by. The OSW Drift, the event organizer, coordinator, whatever you want to call me, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I host these drift events, and I've been doing it for a long time now, helping out and stuff. Been running it myself for 3 or 4 years now. I've been involved with OSW for itself for about almost 8 years now.
Wow, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, almost mid 2013. So
that's this guy right here. This guy. All right, back to the action.
Yep. So we are watching some drifting in the rain.
Right. So, as I was mentioning earlier, this is the OSW Drift Games event.
Yep.
And unfortunately, due to the weather, there was no Drift Games taking place. It was canceled. Why was that?
Well, with the weather and there was kind of intermittent here, lightning and stuff like that. We didn't really want to put these drivers' cars at risk with some of the drift games because it was wet and actually still raining. Some of the games were pretty fast, and I didn't want them to potentially put their car in harm's way for a little bit of fun. Other than regular drifting, that's up to them. But we could drift games like the table game, parking challenge, big entry, stuff like that. Is you kind of want it to be dry so you can have some traction to be able to put the car where you want, and it makes it more exciting that way to when a driver's actually good at like the table game, for example. But seeing someone plow a table because it's raining and they can't stop is not very fun.
Well, what are you talking about? That's exciting. People like to see destruction of
my
some
table,
kind.
though. I don't want to ruin my table.
Okay, but think of the compilation. Think of the views.
Have you checked how much a table is lately?
No, I have not. How much?
This table.
Okay.
6-foot table,
right?
Probably.
Okay.
Folding.
Okay.
No, there's a little one, but it's like $100.
God, wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I bought the one that I use is an 8-foot table, so it fits the tent better.
Right.
Folding, and it's black.
Okay.
It was $130.
Wait, hang on. Where at, actually?
Amazon.
Amazon.
Oh, Amazon Prime,
Right. Okay.
Well, no,
because
big like that delivered quick.
Different places where you go will have different prices, and sometimes they have deals and specials and closeouts and clearances. But then here's the problem: is like when you really need it at those times, it's like you got to pay whatever price. And
see, that was the thing. I spent too much time searching for one in person. I went to Target, Walmart, sporting goods stores. They were out of them.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
This was probably, I don't know, 6 months ago.
Wow. Okay.
They were out of them. So I'm like, okay. And I saw the sticker, the price sticker on the shelf.
Okay.
There was one at Walmart this size for, $50.
Okay.
They were out of them.
Oh.
So it's like, then you go on Amazon, they're like, shows in stock. There's, Amazon Prime shipping or whatever for $60. So I'm like, oh, well, let me keep searching. And then I found like the big one to fill out the tent better and everything.
Right.
But, that one jumped up in price. So I'm like, well, I'll just get this.
Oh, all right. I think you might have a driver there.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah. Give me a second. Nah, you're good.
Oh, if you got to handle business, you can come back right back.
He needs his car tapped.
Oh, okay. Well, just have him pull up over here. We'll do an ocular pat down. we'll see exactly what's going on from a distance.
Yeah. Let me go do this. Let me
just
check it out real quick so that he doesn't have to.
Yeah,
wait.
of course.
Give me a second.
Last thing you want is for an issue to happen on track and then just delays everything.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll be right back.
Yes, indeed. All right. Gonna take. Well, so far so good. Things are going well. Holding up. Still drifting going on. It's just this rain that's not letting up, unfortunately. But oh, look at this! We got some 3-car tandems going on over here. Got an Infiniti G35, which I'm sure our own Paul Murphy is looking back at his time over here with his G35. I don't know if you guys recall, if you've seen our show, The Flipping Point. It's podcast that we do every 2 weeks. Paul shared with us the moment that his car caught on fire here at OSW. Just hey, wait a minute, hold on. I see a Clutch Lickers banner on that. I think might be Brian Bacchia, maybe. Huh. I will have to investigate. But in any case, yeah. So yeah, check that out whenever you can. I gotta say, I like what I'm seeing here. I like the variation, the variety of cars. You're not seeing the usual. Back in the day, used to be just the multitude of 240s that would just plague the events. Was just unbearable. Then it became the multitude of 350Zs that plagued the events. That became unbearable too. But now with this event, you're seeing the variety of vehicles with sedans and coupes, drop tops. And not just Nissans, you got BMWs, Mazdas, Toyotas. And I'm definitely liking this very much. I gotta say, with the rotaries, you expect them to be louder. Because you usually just hear like a, like that, but just screaming at 9,000 RPMs. Just wanted to get signage so that way I could hear it again. Oh, well, back to another tandem action. We got Tommy back again, getting himself settled back over here. You good?
Yep.
All right. Perfect. You're back in.
We're back.
Everything right?
Yeah. That was the guy. His car hadn't passed tech the first time.
Right.
So I had to make sure he fixed all the issues before he's allowed on track.
Ah, was it one of those like crazy issues where like the battery wasn't tied down and you needed a belt? He tried to use like a belt.
This one was worse.
I don't know if you want to share it to the world.
I mean, he fixed it, so it's fine.
Okay.
His seat only had 2 front bolts in it,
oh,
like the bracket.
Okay.
So like I every time I take a car, I shake the seat to make sure it's not, super loose or whatever. It's a safety concern. I like touch it and I go to wiggle it, and it like, instead of it just being like, oh, it's a solid seat, it just like goes like a recliner. It just folds forward though. Like if you had a 2-door car and you pull a little lever to get in the back seat.
Yeah.
It did that, and I go, what is going on here? And he goes, oh, I got to fix that. And I go, well, you should have asked me to take your car if that wasn't fixed. So he had to, like, rethread the, tap the holes and put new bolts in and everything, and he got it fixed.
Oh, okay.
And then he was missing, like, fire extinguisher and stuff, which he got that done. So we're all about safety here. It seems like we're pretty strict, but it's for everyone's safety. That's simple as that, so...
Where can people find the safety list?
So we actually have a website. I don't really advertise it too much, but it's oswdrift.jp.
Okay.
And there it'll have the event schedule for the whole year, and the tech rules and the general track rules. It's kind of all built into one.
Ah, okay.
It's a whole website just for that.
Okay.
But and funny enough, it's 2022, and people there's some people that still don't use Facebook, don't use Instagram. So like I've had people come up and be like, oh, I only knew about this event because my friend told me. I go, it's on social media, and he goes, I'm not on social media.
Well, I mean, I don't want to dive too much into it, but yeah, I mean, people out there, they like to live their lives privately, and they don't want to expose themselves too much.
I wish sometimes that I could be like that, but everything that I do in my day-to-day revolves on getting information out there. So it's either at this job with OSW Drift and getting the event out there, or my full-time job. Like, everything is big on social media nowadays.
So what's your take on this? When you have 3 cars on track, do you get concerned, or is it just right now one of those things where you just like, just let them have fun?
I know I've been doing this for so long that like I'm kind of losing my touch on this, but I know every single driver. Not necessarily by name, not necessarily by face, but I know every driver. I know the car. I can be like, I remember seeing this car that's on track right now spin out 4 times. Why is he trying to follow someone? Or it's point proven. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, and I don't even know who that is, but I know, like, if that dude comes next event, I'll be like, okay, that was this car with this hood and blah, 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 and, he was okay.
Okay.
Keep an eye out on him. So we all know Fellows out there.
But it's always difficult to distinguish who Fellow is, because he always changes cars. Or he either like does something to the car, like whether a cosmetic or with the paint, and I'm just like, is that Fellow or not? Or maybe he's one of those things where he's trying to throw people off the scent, maybe.
I mean, so here's the thing about Fellow though, and this is in no way a negative thing.
Okay, all right.
His cars look a certain way.
All right.
Like,
so what's the secret then?
So for me, what I've noticed about him from watching him for, I don't know, 10 years now, is his cars, he like tries to do cool things to them and puts on like cool exterior stuff, body kits and everything like that. But then like the car's still functional. It's not super slammed, you know, because he knows how to set up a car.
Right.
The car's not super slammed or anything like that. And then the car, suspension-wise and stuff, usually works. He has had a lot of engine problems over the years and stuff like that, but like, I don't know, there's a fellow vibe to his car. And
I see what you did there.
Like, I don't know. I see a car, he can be like, this is my new car, and I go, I knew that already. Before you even stepped out of it, I could tell it was your car. Just the way people do things.
Right. So you mentioned earlier that during the drivers meeting that no drift games today, but you were looking to maybe have another iteration of it at a future event. How is that going to work out, or do you still, is it something you're going to, hey, look at the different arcs on an FC?
That's the one that I just texted.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I can see why he could be missing bolts. I mean, the chassis is a little bit old, and
it definitely had some old parts in the engine bay.
Really?
Like some old components where you're like, oh, okay, this was like a 2008 blow-off valve, 2007 blow-off valve, like new.
Huh.
It's like I mean, you could hear it. It was a Gretty type S.
I don't know what you're talking about. I could barely hear it. It's one of like the quietest. I mean, does it have a rotary? Do you know?
Yeah, it is.
It does.
Yeah.
Oh. It's one of the quietest rotaries out here.
I would assume it was going to be loud, but yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was really quiet.
That's another thing I mentioned. It's like you typically associate a rotary-powered vehicle with just loud, screeching, ear-inducing, like noise. Hey, look at Byron. He's like, "Come on, buddy, bring it on in. Make some contact. Leave your mark on my door." See, there he goes again. Look at that. Just been signaling over to the Skyline and just... Who is it in the Skyline? Do you know?
That's Andrew Grindle.
Oh, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah, that's... he's been coming here forever. I remember when he was not good and just starting out.
Was it in that same car? Or
no, he's had a ton of different cars.
Ah.
I think... I don't remember what he started... the earliest car that I remember him having was an LS swap G37... like from a long time ago.
Really?
Yeah. LS swap G37 sedan. It was actually built by Enjuka Racing.
Oh, okay.
A long time ago for one of Enjuka Racing's customers when they used to work on customer cars.
Okay.
Which is also just a friend of a couple people that worked there. And then he ended up selling it to build something else. And then it got passed around a couple times, and he had it for a while and then sold it. It was the one that Christian Catrone had for a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. It was a white G37 sedan LS swapped.
Huh.
And it was manual. It had AC. All the gauges worked. It was in Enjuka Racing built.
You sold me on the AC part.
Oh yeah.
You sold me on the AC part. I don't care what engine it has. I don't care what suspension, as long as it has AC.
Yep.
Mwah.
That's my biggest thing that I always tell people nowadays.
Oh boy, that was a pretty rough initiation.
Don't take, if you buy a car with AC, and maybe it might have a leak or something, you know, it's not that cold. Don't take it out. Don't take it out. Like, make it work around it, make sure your car has those creature comforts.
Yeah, I don't understand, like, what's the point? I mean, okay, maybe you've been around cars maybe longer. Is it something that you've seen where when the engine's been revving at 9,000 RPMs and the AC compressor just goes out? Or what's the deal?
Well, no, because, I mean, an AC compressor has a clutch on it, like a clutch fan.
Right.
It has a clutch on it. So if you don't have the AC on and the compressor's not actually on, then that clutch is just an extra pulley in your system at that point. Like, it's not, you're not putting any extra wear and tear on your AC system from having it off in a drift car. Like my JZX has AC. I'll have it on when I do eventually drive it. I'll have it on like in grid or whatever, and then right before I take off, I shut the AC off and then go do my lap. As soon as I come, if I was running this layout right now, after the final turn, I'd straighten up and I'd be like, man, that was a sweet run. It's getting a little hot in here. Boom, press the AC. And then just AC all the way through, back in line.
Sweet.
And then this is a good example too. In days like today, Colton, in the pink S13.
Okay.
He doesn't even have windshield wipers. He has no blower motor, no defrost, nothing. So like you put yourself in a rainy event and you're gonna have a bad time. Now for me in a rainy event, I'm just like, cool, leave the AC on, I'll kick it off for the lap, turn it back on, defrost the windows if it got to that point or whatever, and then that's it. It's more enjoyable.
Right. Yeah, I really don't understand the motivation, and I think it's too late to. I mean, it gets to the point where like you regret it, and then it's too late because you're already so deep into it that like it becomes perhaps even more expensive to actually put it back.
Yep.
In original
That's
form.
The thing. Like if you ripped it out and you ripped out every single little thing from the AC system, I get it that it could be a little difficult to, and you threw it out or sold it or whatever. And especially on these older cars, like I can understand it being a challenge. Like I collect spare AC components for my JZX. Every time someone's parting something out, I buy whatever they have for the AC, whatever's left.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, because if in my case, it's not a car I can just go to AutoZone or O'Reilly's or whatever. Speaking of Poland, it's not a car I can go buy something off the shelf for. So I got to make sure that we're in Florida. If I want to drive my car in the middle of summer and the AC breaks, I want to be able to fix it right then and there so I can keep enjoying my car. My roommate has an S13 that doesn't have AC in it, and he doesn't drive it during the summer. We're like counting down the days to where it cools down. So he's like, "Yeah, I can take my car out and cruise around with you." For me, I'm like, I don't care if it's hot, cold, raining, hurricane, freaking whatever. I'm driving my car around if I want to.
It just reminds me of the people that live up north and how they just get these snowstorms and they're just kind of like, they have nothing else to do. They just sit at home.
Yeah, they're
and they're just waiting for the storm to just go away.
Yeah, the snow to melt.
Yeah, and then once that's out, then they could go ahead and have fun. But
I guess you could call our season, per se, is summer. No one wants to be out on summer. It either rains every day, it's 110 degrees out. I know I don't like to be outside during the summer.
No.
That's why we try to have night events during the summer. And on my free time, I'm like, oh, let's go do something inside. Let's go. We can go watch a movie. We can go to a restaurant, a bar, whatever, inside. Because there's no reason.
Oh, boy. Oh. That is sketchy.
Yeah, that was not good.
That was sketchy. That just made me just like, oh, boy. That's, I don't know. Hopefully they can sort that out. Oh,
yeah,
boy.
That was not a good spot to do
No,
that.
definitely not. I was just mentioning earlier how you probably could have had a game of who could understeer the longest. You had I forget which car. It was a white BMW. I think it was an E46. I forget. And he would just turn the wheel and just like through that lake, just go crazy with the understeer. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Back off.
Man, I remember one time, long time ago here, we had a guy come out and it was dry.
Okay.
He understeered so bad for the entire event that he ended up having to replace his fronts before his rears.
That's what I was talking about earlier. I was talking about how the name of the game is just to have your rear tires go out and swap them out, and now your fronts. If your fronts go out before your rears, you're doing it wrong.
Yep. It's just a lot of it's just car setup. Like I've always set up my cars to want to drive at full lock because I started, I did what I feel everyone should do is bone stock car, slowly upgrade it with your skill, whatever. So like I always ran minimal angle, or a cut knuckle S13 was like my first angle mods on one of my third S13. So I always just wanted to drive at full lock. And then over the years, getting different steering setups, different cars, I always just want to drive them at full lock. So I never had that issue with understeer. Like, and it's just like, that's how I teach people how to drift. I'm like, if you're turning this way and nothing's happening, you need to clutch kick or stop or do something to get the rear end back out. And when people understand that, like when I tell people that and it just clicks, they usually start doing better really like right away. But some people just don't get it, I guess. Well, that's why you're here practicing.
So talking about I guess, humble beginnings and the starts of many people, one of the things I mentioned was the next event taking place September 17th is the Learner's Day.
Yep.
And what can drivers that, or should I say potential drivers, that are maybe looking to sort of dip their toes into the sport of drifting, what can they expect at a Learner's Day here at OSW?
So the gist of a Learner's Day is we pretty much, I sucker a bunch of A-class drivers to volunteer their time. I offer them cheap pizza and a free drift event that same night. Bring your car, instruct during the day, drive for free at night. So what I do is I get all this A-class drivers to come out, and we limit the Learner's Days to 25 cars. Obviously, to keep the classes small, you keep it more one-on-one, everything like that. So what I do is then I get all these A-class drivers to come out. We usually split the skid pad down the middle to have a very beginner section and a like sort of beginner / intermediate section, and then we split all the drivers up based at first it's just evenly, and we'll see where you lay out. And then after that, everyone kind of falls into place. Like, oh, the instructors will tell you, like, hey, you need to go back to the beginner side, or hey, you should move up to the advanced side. But in the meantime, they're riding along with you. They're giving you tips on what to do, what not to do, all in real time. So they'll go out there for, I don't know, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 2 minutes and a half, and just the instructors are told to be able to be like, okay, go do a donut. And then you watch them do a donut, and they're like, okay, stop. Here's what you should try. And then they'll go ahead and try it again. And then, it's usually about 5 hours of that with 25 cars max, and sometimes less, because usually if one person backs out, I don't even bother trying to fill the spot, because then that just makes the classes more even, like the run groups more even, and then the amount of instructors split evenly makes more sense with 24. We just accidentally put in 25 spots instead of 24 one time. Oh. And I was like, we'll just leave it at 25. But yeah, because it's 24. Right. It's supposed to be 3 groups of 9 instructors, 3 groups, and 3 instructors at each group. And then that way there's 1 in the car, 1 watching the track for safety purposes, and 1 in the next car waiting to take off. So the instructors kind of rotate. So then also you're not like just on one person. Throughout the end of the event, normally like an instructor will be like, okay, I'm going to wait because I've been working with you for most of the day. But at the very beginning, you're hearing input from all the instructors, and all the instructors are watching everyone. So
that's good.
You get, I think it's it equates to like 5 or 6 hours maybe of one-on-one instructions. We're just here. There's no spectators allowed for the Learner's Day. It's just the driver and their crew member, so a family member or whatever, and the instructors. So there's no pressure of spectators watching or anything like that. I also have a driver's meeting with them where I explain, like, look, we're not here to judge you. We all started somewhere. I'd rather you start here than how I started back in the day in the streets. Like, get all your knowledge right away and, start practicing. So another cool thing about the Learner's Days is that if you sign up for the Learner's Day, if you are lucky enough to get a spot, because they do sell out very quick, in the price, you get to drive the night portion for free. Like, it's included in the price. Oh, okay. So, for example, you paid for the Learner's Day, you secured your spot. The Learner's Days usually go from 9 to 5, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then the After Dark is what we call it, starts from 5 p.m. and goes all the way to midnight. That's a very long day for me. But
I bet.
Yeah, but it's worth it. I mean, the amount of people, there's some people here today that helped one of their friends attend a Learner's Day. Now they're out here with their own car. There's some people from the from the ride-along event, the last event that we did. Hey, I came here. I did a ride-along. I bought a car. I'm here. Like, it's really a really good way for people to get their feet wet per se with it, and then want to be able to come out, which is also a good thing about having the After Dark event right after the Learner's Day. They're already warmed up. They're already, you know, they've been shredding all day, and then they don't feel as pressured to come in through the gate at a regular event.
Okay.
At a regular event and be like, oh, you know, they don't feel intimidated. They're like, oh, you know, I was already here. I got my pit space set up. I've already been driving. I've learned some new things. Now let's go show it off.
I think this might have been the guy that I was telling you about that with the heavy understeer. Looks like it's going pretty quickly through the course.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that something that really kind of throws me off, and I guess this, I mean, I've not really been exposed to this as much, is just when the cars are just taking off and one of the other ones is still kind of like mid-drift through the sectors of the course. I guess you have it all figured out, timed out, when to actually send the cars out, right?
Yeah, that's also another reason why we don't really try a bunch of different layouts.
Okay.
Because the two layouts, this and the layout that I call Spring Break Bash layout, they just work. They don't intersect. You can send multiple cars on track like what you're talking about right now, and me and my guys that have ran grid know when it's safe to send cars and everything like that. And then by the end of the day, you learn. Hey, who's gonna make it a ride along? I bought a car, and who's gonna kind of you know have a little bit of a struggle. It's really, so you can a really good way for so by the end of the day, we should be able to have in this layout, the kidney bean layout, we should be able to have 3 cars. 3 separate instances on track. We should have one guy coming off and turning off, one guy entering, and one guy still mid-track. So one guy coming off, one guy about to initiate, and one guy halfway through the course. Or girl, no judging.
Oh, yeah, exactly, exactly.
See, so look. So you got one guy still there, one guy exiting, and this guy initiating.
Ah.
That's just to maximize seat time.
Gotcha, okay.
See, and then the grid worker should be watching. This guy's still, you know, struggling a little bit, so he's going to wait till he gets to about midpoint. Now that I'm explaining this, you're going to watch and it makes sense.
Okay.
He's going to wait till he gets to this midpoint of the track, and he's going to try to send another car. But then you got, you know, you see? So pretty much midpoint of the track, and he sends another car.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it now. Okay,
so you just got to time it and then adjust your timing, and it also depends. Like, that's why in the drivers meetings I'm like, hey guys, you have to pay attention to the grid worker, because we're constantly trying to, and I got guys sitting on the start line just like not even looking at the track, they're just looking at me because they know the second that I wave them on, they need to go. So it's pretty interesting, and that's why with this layout and the Spring Break Bash layout, we're still able to get those 3 vehicles, whether it's 3 tandem pairs, 3 solo drivers, depending on the amount of cars in a train, it could even be 3 trains. Usually, I don't like to do it with more than like 3 cars or 4 trains, like 4-car trains. But like on this layout, I can send 3 4-car trains at once.
Oh boy.
And like I said, it's just to maximize seat time, because that's all we care about here is let's drive as much as possible.
Talking about trains, what's the most amount of cars that you've had on track on a tandem train?
I want to say we...
In this area. I
mean,
yeah, I know we have the oval.
Oh, yeah, we've actually done more on the skid pad than on the oval.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The rules are different on the oval.
Oh.
You have to have a cage no matter what to be able to
okay.
tandem, because it's a lot higher speed.
Gotcha.
So the most that we've had on the oval, I think, has only been like 9 or 10. I think we've had 14 on the skid pad.
Oh, wow.
14-car train. It was sketchy.
That's that
was
sketchy.
And I want to say it might have been on the kidney bean layout.
Okay. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, that's a lot for this small of an area. Like, you know, the skid pad's a good size, but it's not no 3-mile freaking road course, you know?
Right.
So 14 cars is quite a bit. So it's actually, it's doable. I remember one of the events we only had like I think 14 or 20 8-class drivers, and I always have this rule. You know, we count it down. You know, whoever's running grid. If you want 3 cars, you hold up 3. Everyone else holds up 3. That's how many cars are going. There's another sign that we use is a thumbs up. Thumbs up means whatever you want. How many? It doesn't matter who's in front of you, who's behind you. You want. It doesn't care if you dump the whole grid. And I remember one event when I was running grid. That was the case. I think we had like 28 class drivers, and I want to say anywhere from like 10 to 12, 14 of them just gave me the thumbs up, and I go, all right, I guess we're doing this. And I mean, I get sketched out a little bit, but at the end of the day, I know who would be allowed to do that. Like if I know a driver's not capable, I would have stopped them. And you got to also understand that they put themselves at that position.
Right.
Like if you don't want a tandem, you don't want anything to happen, like don't do it. If you don't mind the risk, you know the risk you're taking, go for it. If you have the skill.
Yeah, I will say I've. Oh, look at that. We got a fellow over here. This fellow, right?
Yep.
I'm making sure. I mean, for all we know, he might have changed something in the pits just to
spray paint his car real quick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen crazier things, right? Right? I hope. Any case,
I've seen some engine swaps go down in the pits.
Really?
Oh yeah, for like the 3-day events and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
Yeah, not like I've seen like diff and transmission swaps in single-day events, but
that's expected.
Yeah, exactly.
But an engine swap.
But yeah,
that's
I've seen an engine swap being done in during a 3-day event.
Okay, let's dive into that for a little bit because you've piqued my curiosity. So, what is the vehicle and what was the engine? And actually, a little bit back, what caused the engine failure?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, you have no idea?
No, I just know that it was. I remember the car being jacked up extremely high. I don't even remember what car it was, honestly. I don't know. You know, it could have been a Z, a 240, or whatever. Other millions of cars. But
that's a good guess.
Yeah. All I remember is seeing the car jacked up super high, and I'm like, you don't jack up a car that high to like do something normal to it. So then I see like drive shafts out, and then like I'm looking around and doing my thing. And I come back and I'm like, transmission's down. I'm like, oh, they're changing the transmission. Right. No big deal. Nope. Next thing you know, I see engine hoist coming out, and I guess they must have been ready to like pull it out. So I see an engine hoist come out, gets attached to the engine, and next thing you know, I have an engine hanging in the air in the pits.
You see the engine hoist is like looking at a stretcher. It's like,
yeah.
oh, you know what's happening here.
And then I think that was like midday one of the days. And then the following morning, I see an engine coming back on the back of a truck with the cherry picker. Like, I don't know if you call it cherry picker or engine hoist, whatever. I see the engine hoist with an engine in the bed of a truck. And then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So they did replace an engine. Sure enough. And then I think by the very end of the event, the car was done.
Question though, did you retech it? Because that's a pretty significant alteration to the car.
I want to say I probably did.
Okay, all right.
But
let's err on the side that you did.
Yeah, I can't tell you 100% for sure that I did, but I'm like, I mean.
Or the time had already run out for the event that by the time they finished it, there was no point to tech it because the track was cold.
I mean, that was close to. I remember it being like the very end of the event on a Sunday. Oh, I got it running, and I'm like, cool. You have like a couple hours left. But about then, I mean, Sundays of those 3 days events.
Right. You just reminded me of another game. Gave me an inspiration for another game. Engine swap.
Oh,
Who
yeah,
can swap the engine the fastest in the pits? You only have a certain set of tools and a certain set of crew members.
That would
That's
be
it.
a 3-day event by itself.
What are you talking? Well, you think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think anyone. I can only think of a couple people that I would assume could do something like that.
Okay.
Come here often.
Right.
Matt the Ginge.
Okay.
And Steven Tassinero. Sorry, I always get his name wrong. Steven Tassinero. I feel like, especially them two together, they could 100% do it in like a couple hours. If you had another engine and you didn't have to like dress it up or like swap oil pans, because that's the time consuming. And swapping an engine is not hard or time consuming.
Okay.
It's depending on how far into it you're getting. Are you swapping over the oil pan, the water pump, the oil pump, the, all this stuff that's sealed, whether it's with like RTV or whatever, because then you have to clean up whatever surface it was. So let's say you're swapping an oil pan to a new engine.
Okay.
And you have to clean it out, because what happens if the engine blew up because of a bad bearing? Then you have metal particles in the oil pan.
Right.
You have to spend time thoroughly cleaning that out, because you don't want it to suck metal up and blow the new engine.
Exactly.
So you have to do that for an oil pan, for example. And then for an oil pan, you also have to, if you had RTV on to seal it to the engine, you got to scrape all that off. So the time-consuming part is just cleaning everything for reassembly.
I got a side question right quick. I know everyone has like a go-to RTV sealant when it comes to the oil pan. What is it for you?
The I don't remember the actual name, but it's the gray one that everyone uses. The high temp like quick seal one.
Okay. I know some people like that live and die by the Toyota one. I forget which one it is, but there's like a particular Toyota sealant that everyone's like, all you need to do is just go to the Toyota website, put in that part number, and that's it. That's the best sealant. I'm like, okay, I guess.
Also what they use with, they call it Honda Bond.
Honda Bond?
Which is Honda's RTV.
Oh.
Factory OEM RTV. Everyone swears by it, and it's like really good for other stuff too, I guess. So like, everyone uses that for everything.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's that's one of those like debates. Like, oh, do you go LS or RB or JZ? One of those things where I'm like, well, I hear so many people with different their go-tos, and I'm just like, I mean, whatever works, right?
Yeah. I mean, I like stuff to be readily available, and it's kind of ironic that I drive a Japanese car that's nothing readily available. But I mean, I've done my research, but I like things that are readily available. So my go-to RTV is going to be that high temp, quick dry gray one that you can find at any auto parts store, and be good to go right away. Gotcha.
Okay. So going back to the whole engine swap, once you actually get everything cleared out, right, and you're able, you are assured that there's no particles, and you're able to actually swap over, what you need to do. What's the next step of the process that you think is going to be more time-consuming?
After that, let's say you get all the actual time-consuming stuff right away or out of the way. The next thing would be probably to line up the engine mounts to the subframe or cross member, whatever you want to call it, and getting the transmission into the
tunnel?
The transmission attached back to the engine.
Oh, right.
Like the input shaft of the transmission going through the clutch. Oh. That's probably like, I've lost sleep over doing that sometimes.
Really?
I had a Subaru, an 05 Impreza WRX.
Oh.
I blew the transmission up on it. Very common issue.
Why would you torture yourself like that?
It was my favorite car.
Oh.
An STI. I had a WRX though.
My apologies. Then.
Yeah,
take back my comments.
It was my ultimate favorite car ever.
Oh, okay.
The blob eye is what they call it. STI is my all-time favorite. I still like them. Right. I know that they have issues, so I don't have one anymore. But that was the thing. I pulled the transmission out, got my buddy to rebuild it for me, and then it took me longer to just align that, to slide it back in, to be able to bolt it back on, than it did for anything else. And then what made me upset even more was that something was wrong when we rebuilt it and we had to pull it back up. So it was a whole thing. But I think that's sometimes though, and it's the luck of the draw, sometimes it goes in right away. You just happen to get the splines correct, and maybe they didn't move, or maybe they moved and you just, the stars aligned. Right. And it slides right in. And when I've had that happen a couple times, especially like when I was working for Pat for FD, and I forgot what issue we were having. I think we were having clutch issues for like a couple rounds, transmission in and out, bunch of times.
Nice.
And that was always one of the biggest issues. And you'd have so the trick is, if you have spare parts available, in this case with Pat, he had a G-Force, a dog box in it, 4-speed dog box. So we had a spare input shaft to the transmission.
Oh.
So what we would do when we were working on the clutch, we would pull the transmission off and then jam the separate input shaft,
Right.
kind of like a clutch alignment tool. We would jam the input shaft in there and make sure it was straight, and then that way when we would pull it out, we would see where the knurls were, and rotate the transmission outside of the car to make sure that it would go in and plop it back in.
Huh.
I got real good with him and Jeremy Lowe because he used to crew for him as well. He was his spotter, and then we were a small team. It was literally at one point we had a couple people help and then stop helping, but at one point it was literally just me, Pat, and Jeremy on his FD team.
Wow.
Me on the ground, changing tires, filling up the car, doing suspension changes, alignment, stuff like that, and Jeremy Lowe in the spotter stand. But yeah, that's what it was. We were having a lot of clutch issues, and it wasn't any parts brand related or anything. It was actually we ended up finding the problem, and it was the shims on the throwout bearing were wrong because it was an internal one. So every time something would happen with it, you had to pull a transmission out to fix it or readjust it or whatever. It was a bunch of nonsense, but we got so good at pulling a transmission out. Because of having to be a pit guy pretty much by myself, I got real fast at everything.
I bet. And I'm sure it's like all the workout that you got from it.
Oh, yeah. But we were eating like crap, too. We would just be like, oh, we got to make it to California in 2.5 days. And it's like GPS tells you 3 days. And we're like, nope, we got to make it in 2.5. Or gas station hot dogs and sleeping in the truck and just freaking.
Gas station hot dogs. Maybe that's why Jeremy Lowe says hot dogging so much.
Oh, yeah, he loves hot dogging. He knows. He knows about the roller dogs.
The roller dogs?
Roller dogs.
Okay.
That's the hot dogs that roll in the
right,
gas station.
Right.
Roller dogs.
Just haven't heard it. Heard that term before.
that's.
Well, I don't frequent gas stations for the sole purpose of the dogs.
Oh, so if there was a Love's truck stop around me, I would stop there and get a roller dog.
Huh?
Oh, dude, so good. And the thing is, everyone's like, oh, truck stop food is gross. Right?
Oh no, that's not true.
But a lot of people think that.
Right.
It's not, because it is gonna be, depending on the time of day.
Right.
Usually.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the freshest food you can get on the road because there's so much traffic. So you see a rack full of roller dogs, and you're like, okay, the rack's full. These must have just been cooked, like ready to go. Now, if you walk into the gas station and you see one, you're like,
that's a trick.
Little sketchy.
Okay, all right.
But
now
you
I
walk
know.
in and you see a rack full of roller dogs ready to go, you're like, okay, this is fresh. Like it hasn't been out here for an hour, rolling still.
Gotcha.
And that's the secret to truck stops.
That's interesting.
If you're gonna eat somewhere on the road and it's not gonna be a regular restaurant off the highway, it's gonna be a truck stop or a restaurant that's at the truck stop. So like a Love's will have like a McDonald's or a Wendy's or an Arby's.
Right.
Go there. The food is always fresh. Now, if you go 10 minutes off the highway and you go to a McDonald's there that is in the middle of nowhere, I don't know, Idaho, when you're traveling across the country and you have to go stay at a hotel 10 minutes off the highway, you don't want to, that's when you kind of get sketched out around because the food's been sitting. It's not fresh because it's not busy.
See, when you're an individual that has traveled so often based on the fact that you're a pit crew for a Formula Drift driver and you're having to travel through all these different places, you have to not only become resourceful towards, to generalize, you have to be resourceful for all the different aspects of it, not only with the team and the car itself, like you were talking about how the transmission, how you were just sliding it in and out.
Yep.
And then now it's also kind of like keeping yourselves hydrated and fed.
Oh yeah.
Throughout the whole process, because I'm sure as you're trying to make it through to this spot within a certain amount of time, and you're not gonna want to you're not gonna want to stay at a hotel or anything. You want to pull in an all-nighter.
Yep.
Just to be able to just get through. And the only thing you probably want to stop is just either for the restaurant facilities or for for food. And your options are limited when you're out in the middle of the road at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yep, exactly.
And you're like, well, there's a gas station. You got no place else to go, no place else to do. And then you all these encounters, you start to sort of kind of like gain that experience. It's like, okay, well, this place is good. This place is not good. Avoid that. And then you sort of get an understanding of like how to navigate through those waters.
Yep. I mean, and that's what it was like we pretty much had to. So it was also a point of saving money. If we didn't stop and we slept in the truck, we got there faster and had to spend less money on hotels and everything like that. Don't get me wrong. There were some times where like we started the day wrong and then had to get a hotel because we both were tired, because it was just me and Pat in the truck. Jeremy would fly to events because he still had, you know, a normal job. He works for his family, so like he had to be in there and put in the work. But we would take turns. Pat would drive throughout the entire day. It could be 8 a.m. The second the sun went down, he would start struggling. And then next thing you know, like 10 o'clock, he's like, I'm done. And I go, cool, you just drove for over 12 hours. Sure, yes, you're done. Meanwhile...
I'm sorry, that just kind of reminds me of Forrest Gump. Where he's just like running and running and running, and then all of a sudden he stops. He's like, I'm done.
Yep.
And he just walks back. In this case, Pat was like, yeah, your turn.
Well, that's what it was. So I would be... And he would get mad at me because I would not sleep during the day. I would be up with him, and he goes, you need to sleep because you need to drive while I'm sleeping, because that's what we did. He would drive for 10, 12, 14 hours. When he said he's done, I'm like, cool, I got it. And I would drive throughout the whole night and while he was sleeping in the back seat.
But, I mean, I kind of don't blame you. I mean, it's difficult to... Well, I mean, you have the King Extreme Break right next to you. Why would you want to sleep through that?
And then, oh my God, it was... I have so many stories about our road trips.
I bet.
The biggest thing was, though, is that we love trivia.
Trivia? What kind of trivia?
Any trivia.
Any trivia.
Yeah. So what I would do, since he was driving, he can't look at his phone and stuff like that. What I would do is like, what subject, or I'll pick a subject, or I'll let him pick a subject. I'll be like, what subject are we going to learn about? We both don't know, but we try to test each other. So what I do is I Googled, for example, one time I was really interested with penguins.
Penguins?
So I Googled like the top 10 most popular penguin facts.
Okay.
And then I asked them to him while he was driving. I was like, what is
that is so random.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what is the... And I didn't know the answers. I had them on my phone.
Okay.
I was like, what is the tallest penguin species? And he'd go, and he would try to think. He'd be like, what species of penguins would I know? And then he would try to think. Do you know?
I have no clue. I do know that there's a king one, I think, but I don't. No, I wouldn't know. I'd say the king penguins.
Emperor penguin. There's a bigger one than the king.
Oh my gosh! Damn it, I was close.
And they're like they can grow up to like 4.5 feet tall.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So then that's what and then seeing this is how we pass the time, because now you're like, damn, a 4.5 foot tall penguin.
I know. Think of the possibilities.
Exactly. And that's how next thing you know, we just talked about a 4.5 foot penguin for the last hour, and we're in a completely different state.
Man.
So then the follow-up question would be, well, what's the smallest one?
Oh, smallest one? Okay.
And I don't even remember the...
Oh, okay. I was
gonna
like trying to think of like the lowest member of an imperial court. I mean, you have the emperor. It won't be an admiral. I will say that.
You can say whatever. I honestly don't
Jester,
remember.
I guess? I don't know.
I don't even remember. It was just a penguin, a tiny penguin that only grew like the biggest one ever recorded was like 16 inches tall.
Maybe people in the chat could chime in. What is the smallest penguin species? Enlighten us, because we know the emperor is the tallest.
Yeah.
And the coolest, I guess. I don't even know.
I mean, yeah. And then you start thinking about, well, because that brought in, so that one first question, which one is the tallest? That's one trivia question, and then how tall is the tallest is a second trivia question.
Oh, okay.
So next thing you know, I'm just asking him all these questions, and then now I can text Pat right now and be like, yo, what's the tallest kind of penguin there is? And he would probably, actually, I don't know, he's in Daytona. He would probably text back and be like, dude, it's emperor penguin.
But they can't be doing testing right now. Look, the weather has given up. It's actually cleared out, actually, surprisingly.
Yeah, not bad.
That's great news.
Probably probably only need to turn the lights on for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that was our whole time, was he would get mad that I would be staying up asking him trivia questions, but then he'd be so intrigued about trivia questions that he wouldn't mind.
Huh.
But then next thing you know, 10 o'clock rolled around, and I better be ready to drive from 10 o'clock till 8 o'clock in the morning, and that's what we would do.
And I'm sure you struggled a couple of times.
Couple of times, yes. Couple of times it was rough. But we always made it. We had I don't know, I want to say we probably did 100,000 miles traveling for FD.
Oh, boy.
And other drift events, because like it would be, I don't know, like we'd go to Seattle for 1 year, and then next you know we'd have to go to Park for one of their events, you know, something like that, and then go back to California for something, and then head to Florida.
Okay.
So I feel like it's safe to say that we did 100,000 miles together. I mean, all the way to Canada and back. Like, it's ridiculous. But
any issues at the border?
Actually, yes.
Oh, care to share?
We got stuck in Canada on the way back. Like the United States of America wouldn't let us back in.
Oh, boy.
So
what happened there?
We towed Pat's car there for FD. Montreal.
Okay.
And on the way back, we didn't. So we only had this like piece of paper from FD stating, "Hey, we are going to, you know, an event there. We're bringing our own vehicle and we're taking our own vehicle back." They thought we sold the car that we brought in, sold it to someone in Canada, and then bought another one and brought it back. So they're like, "You can't bring that car back. You don't have any of the paperwork to import a vehicle." And we're like, "We brought this car in."
Yeah.
So the person I was watching, that was like the supervisor, I guess. I don't know, was just having a day. And they're like, "No, you need a broker because you're bringing a car in and all this stuff." And we're like, "No, it's our car, blah, blah, blah." So we call a couple brokers. Mind you, this was like, this was almost overnight because, so we wanted to get back into the States quickly because we needed to go, I don't know, to New Jersey for something. So we finished the event, packed up and left.
Okay.
So we got, it was like, I don't know, the track in Canada was like, I think 2 or 3 hours away from the border. So we finished at the track and then start driving back, and then it was at night where they're like, "Oh yeah, you can't come in, you need a broker." And we called brokers. Pat's like on the phone going crazy, and then we finally got a hold of a broker. They were all closed. And he's like, "You don't need me." And he tried to explain it, and then he's like, "I'm not gonna," he's like, "You gotta be careful with talking to me because I have to charge you just for speaking to me."
Oh boy.
We're like, "Oh, but blah blah blah, you know, we just need help." He's like, so he calls the border, and he's like, "Hey, these guys don't need anything. Like, they're good." They're like, "Okay, whatever." And then he calls us back and he goes, "Hey, be there bright and early. As soon as the shift changes, there's a different supervisor that I personally know. I already told them your guys' deal. He said you're good, you'll let him in." So we haul ass to the border as soon as it opened, like as soon as the shift change happened, because the border's always open.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "Oh, you're this person and this person with, you spoke to this person." We're like, "Yep." He goes, "All right, you guys are good." And we went through. But they kept us, and you could go back on like Pat's social media, so we made a big stint about it as a joke.
Right.
That, yeah, we had to spend an extra night in Canada. And we stayed at like the closest hotel to the border, which was like maybe a 10-15 minute drive. It was a motel. They had a little bar, and that was a restaurant as well. And we ate poutine and played some arcade games that they had in the restaurant, and then went to bed, and then started our drive back. But it was that was an interesting time. I got scared for like a minute. I was like, "What are we gonna do? Like, are we gonna have to leave this car here?" Because that's what they said. They're like, "You guys can cross. You guys are good. You have your passports, everything. Your car can't come back. Like the car can't come back."
All right.
So we're like, we're not leaving Pat's Formula Drift car in Canada.
Yeah, right?
So like it was a whole thing about it, but yeah, that was probably the biggest thing about like not being able to make it back into Canada.
Oh, it looks like you got a visitor.
Well, see. A la 8. Sí, se puede. Si no, bolsa. Sí, no, bolsa. Okay, sí. Okay. Anyways.
Sweet. Okay, that got sorted.
That was the guy that runs the concession stand.
Ah, okay. Well, final call, last call or something?
Yeah,
Or?
actually, yeah. They're going to close up here because we're done at 10. It's 8 o'clock. It's been a kind of a
It's
little
8
bit
o'clock.
of,
Wow.
Yeah.
Man,
Been a
time
little
flew.
bit slow of an event, so I'm actually going to have to go run the skid pad for a little bit.
Oh, okay. What, everybody else is leaving?
The guy that's helping me today, I only have one guy, like I was telling you earlier.
Oh, okay.
He actually already had plans. So he's like, yeah, I'll come and help you, but I can only stay till 8. And I was like, okay, that's fine.
Gotcha.
So,
okay. Interesting.
But yeah, yeah, I could go on and on about my stories with FD. Like, it's all the traveling that we did, all the stuff we saw. I've been around Mount Rushmore.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice place.
Yeah, just because we had one spare day because we went from Seattle and then we had to do a drift demo in Atlanta Motor Speedway, but it was the following weekend. So it takes 3 days to drive from Seattle to, well, for us to drive from Seattle to Florida. It takes 3 days. We left on a Sunday and we had like 5 days extra. So we ended up going to, we were going past Mount Rushmore and Pat's like, I want to see it. And I'm like, yeah, I've never seen it either. So I paid a guy like $20 to let us park our trailer in their gas station parking lot, so we can just take the truck up the hill to Mount Rushmore, because there's like size limits and stuff like that.
Oh,
kind of like the Tail of the Dragon,
right?
Where like you're not supposed to take trailers through there. But yeah, just a ton of story. I rode one of those mountain roller coasters, and we like didn't hit the brakes.
What?
Like used the brakes, and
Oh,
it
boy.
was terrifying. Like stuff like that. It's like I said, I can go on and on and on about all these crazy stories. They're not even that crazy. It's just like out of the normal for like a road trip.
Right. Well, you're here. That's in the past. What are you looking forward to in the future over here at OSW?
I'm hoping that we could do some expansion, some improvements here at OSW, and hopefully keep the party going. I mean, that's all it is get people trying to drift, learning how to drift, and hopefully keep this going for a long time. I mean, the owner's cool with drifting. He loves it. He loves what I do. He loves the people. And it's just a matter of keeping it going, you know, and having him help us expand this place and grow and go from there.
You gotta get that?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So, well, I'm gonna hop out because that's my guy trying to leave. I'm gonna have to actually go run the skid pad now. So you'll see me down there doing stuff.
Sweet. Tommy, thank you for your time. Go
All
do
right,
your
no
thing.
No problem. Thank you for coming out. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. Folks, we're gonna just keep the action going, and then I'll be back in just a second. Just gotta set something up over here. All right, folks. Got this sorted out. It's just something that I mentioned that now that the weather has cleared out, we could actually take a grander view of things. As you can see here from an overhead view of the skid pad itself, and doing a good job of getting these people their opportunity to get some seat time over here. So thinking about the penguin question that Tommy brought up. What is the smallest one? But be able to switch camera perspectives. You'll see here that there will be a little bit of delay as I try to sort of work this out. But see, Byron Parrish, he brought out the light show. It's getting dark over here. It's 8 o'clock at the moment, so. Well, at some point it's going to be very difficult to actually see what's going on the track. It's very dark, and even though the lights are illuminated to kind of give the drivers an opportunity to see where they're going, but it's not the best. But for our cameras, it's not the best. But for the drivers, though, they're making it work. At least now they don't necessarily have to suffer with all the constant rain and the loss of grip, loss of traction. But you win some, you lose some, I guess you could say. Trying to mention, let me go ahead and highlight again the next events that are taking place over here at OSW. September 17th, Learners Day, After Dark. October 9th, After Dark. October 29th, Frankenslide. November 18th to the 20th, the Black Friday Drift. And December 3rd will be the Drivers Appreciation Day. Our show, Clipping Point, will be taking place next week on this channel, so be sure to check that out. And you could also check us out at Clutch Kickers, actually, which the next round, let me just quickly pull this up so that way everyone is informed. There's just so many posts over here. I gotta scroll through. Gotta keep scrolling. What's happening here? There we go. Okay, next round 4 is happening at the Freedom Factory on October 21st through the 23rd. So be sure to check that out on the clutchkickers.com website and all their social media channels for that. And also check out our social media channels, Drift Sessions on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. And also check out the OSW Drift on Instagram for that. That said, I want to thank you folks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the program. hopefully we could do more of this. It's not often we get the chance to go out to an event, live stream it, broadcast it for you, all of you that can't make it, to experience and enjoy. And I think the most important part is for you to get a sense of what's happening out here, so the next time you're thinking about coming out, at least gives you the incentive to come out here and experience it in person, because it's one thing to check it out on the internet or in front of your TV screen or mobile phone, but it's a whole different experience, much better experience being out here in person. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and sign us off. My name is Captain Ben. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.